Omagyanatimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmilitanjena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha. So we are continuing with our reading and discussion of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, Hidden Treasure of the Sweet Absolute. We've been on pause for the last 2 months or so, and we're going to pick up with chapter 3, I think. Welcome everyone who's here today, and thank you to Marie for hosting. So this is our second cycle, right, of Bhagavad Gita. We went through chapter 1, which is like setting the scene. Chapter 2, which is setting the foundations of the whole discussion of Bhagavad Gita, right? And what is the premise of Bhagavad Gita? That we are not this body, that we are soul, right? And it is this fundamental point which makes everything else in Bhagavad Gita relevant. So chapter 2 is giving this like foundational understanding. And it's also a summary of all the topics of Bhagavad Gita. Srila Swami Maharaj Prabhupada in his edition calls it Contents of the Gita Summarized. That's his title for chapter 2. Bhaktivinoda Thakur called it the Sutra of Bhagavad Gita in a very concise and condensed way. It's describing all the key topics of Bhagavad Gita. So now we've been through these 2 kind of like introductory sections of Bhagavad Gita. Now we're coming to chapter 3, which is going deeper into the principle of karma yoga, which was touched upon in chapter 2, but now will be elaborated upon. So I need to set up a screen share, I think, now. So you have it set up already. Awesome. So let's go to chapter 3. Let me share screen here. Here we go. And we can also hear Srila Govinda Maharaj as we have been doing. So I think we can go through the first 10 verses as we've been. Oh, maybe I forgot to share sound. I think I forgot to share sound. Let me, I always forget how to do that. I'm going to stop this. Oh, here we are. Stop share. I'm going to try again and share the sound. Here we go. Okay, so Karma Yoga chapter 3.
तृतीयोऽध्याय कर्मयोग अर्जुनुवाच जायसी चेत् कर्मणस्ते मता बुद्धिर्जनार्दन तत्किं कर्मणि निघोरे मं नियोजयसि केशव व्यामिश्रेण वाक्येन बुद्धिं मोहयसीव मे तदेकं वद निश्चित्त येन श्रेयोऽहमाप्नुयाम्। श्री भगवान उवाच लोकेस्मिन् द्विविधा निष्ठा पुरा प्रोक्ता मया नघ ज्ञानयोगेन साङ्ख्यानं कर्मयोगेन योगिनं न कर्मणामनारम्भात् नैष्कर्मं पुरुषोऽश्नुते न च सन्न्यासनादेव सिद्धिं समधिगच्छति न हि कश्चित् कर्मपि जातुतिष्ठत् कर्मकृत् कार्यते छवसः कर्म सर्वप्रकृतिजैर्गुणैः कर्मेन्द्रियाणि संयम्य यास्ते मनसा स्मरन् इंद्रियार्थान् विमूढात्मा मिथ्याचारः उच्यते यस्तेन्द्रियाणि मनसा नियम्यारभतेऽर्जुन कर्मेन्द्रियैः कर्मयोगमशक्तः स विशिष्यते नियतं कुरु कर्म त्वं कर्म ज्यायोच्छ कर्मणः शरीरयात्रापि च ते न प्रसिद्धेद कर्मणः यज्ञार्थात् कर्मणोऽन्यत्र लोकोऽयं कर्मबन्धन तदर्थं कर्म कौन्तेय मुक्तसङ्गः समाचर सहयज्ञः प्रजा सृष्ट्वा पुरोवाच प्रजापति अनेन प्रसविष्यद्धं मेष भूस्तिष्ठ कामधु.
Okay. Well, Gangalila, do you feel like reading through those verses again with us?
Hare Krishna, thank you. Just the English or both?
I think both. It's good for us all to try to chant the Sanskrit ourselves too, so we can follow you. And
so
then
I start with Arjuna Uvacha.
Yeah, go up to 10.
Arjuna Uvacha, Jayasi Chit Kama, Anaste Mata Buddhiya Janadana, Tat Kim Kamani Gore Mam Niyoyayasi Keshava. Arjuna said, O Janardhan, O Keshava, if you consider wisdom superior to action, why then do you urge me to engage in the violence of warfare? Vyamish Reneva Vakyena Buddhim Muhayas Shiva me Tat Ekam Vada Nichitya Yena Shreyoham Apnuyam. I am confused by your words. They appear to be ambiguous, sometimes supporting action and sometimes supporting wisdom. So please tell me, which is the most beneficial path for me to take? Sri Bhagavan Uvacha, Lokeshmin Dvivida, Nishta Pura Prokta Mayanaga, Yana Yogena Shankyanam, Karma Yogena Yoginam. The Supreme Lord replied, O sinless one, I have described the two paths to be found in this world, the yoga of wisdom practiced by the realized and the yoga of selfless action practiced by those active in the world. Both paths touch the beginnings of devotional practice, since the ladder to the plane of devotion is one, while the practice is twofold according to the stage attained. Na karmanam anarambahan naisha karmyam purushoshnude nacha sanyas sanat eva siddhim samadhi gachate. One cannot attain freedom from action by refraining from action, nor can one attain fulfillment by renunciation alone. Nahi kachit kshanam api yudyatu tishtahati tisthati akarmart karyate hi avasha karma sava prakriya jaya guna. No one can refrain from activity or even a moment. Everyone is impelled to act by the models of material nature. Thus, the person of impure consciousness should not disregard scripturally prescribed purificational works. Kamendriyani samyamya aste manasa smaran indriyatam vimutatma mityachara sa uchayate. One who externally restrains his hands, legs, and other senses of action, but whose mind dwells on sense object, is a fool. Know him to be a hypocrite. Yastve indriyani manasa nyamyarabate runa kamendriya karma yogam aksakta sa vishyatsate. O Arjuna, superior is one who, though married, has stabilized his senses by the mind and engaged in the yoga of selfless action. Yatam kuru karma tvam karma yayo hiyakamana shariya yatra picha tena prasidyat akarmana. Perform your prescribed duties, since to be active is better than idleness. Inactive persons cannot even maintain their existence. By giving up fruitive action, performing your obligatory duties, your heart will be purified. Surpassing the plane of renunciation, you will attain pure devotion, transcendental to the mundane plane. Yajnatat karmano yatra lokoyam karma bandhana tat artham karma kaunteya mukta shanga samachara. Selfless duty performed as an offering to the Supreme Lord is called yagna, to sacrifice. O Arjuna, all action performed by any other purpose is the cause of bondage in this world of repeated birth and death. Therefore, remaining unattached to the fruits of action, perform all your duties in the spirit of such sacrifice. Such selfless action is the way to begin devotional practice, gradually realize the presence of the Lord, and ultimately attain pure devotion, transcendental to the modes of material nature, nirguna bhakti. Sahayagna praja strava purovacha pajapati anina pasa vishyavam esha votvaishta kamaduk. In the beginning, Lord Brahma manifested the progeny of the world along with sacrifice. He instructed them thus: take shelter of this religious principle of sacrifice, prosper and flourish. May such sacrifice be the bestower of the things you desire. Devan bhavayante
Oh, that's
nate.
great, Gangalila. You can stop there. It's just those first 10 verses. Thank you.
Jai. You're welcome.
All right. Well, does anyone have anything that comes to mind they'd like to share, or specific question? So
Yes, Vishaka Didi, I have the. Can you explain a little bit more about the verse number 8, please?
verse number 8. Okay, yeah,
Talks
that's
about prescribed duty. Yeah.
Niyatam Guru Karma Tam Karma Jaya Ya Karma Naha. Perform your prescribed duty, since to be active is better than idleness. Inactive persons cannot even maintain their existence. So this is well, let me read up. By giving up fruitive action and performing your obligatory duties, your heart will be purified. Surpassing the plane of renunciation, you will attain pure devotion, transcendental to the mundane plane. So this is kind of like describing karma yoga in a nutshell, right? And another, there are a few ideas which are tied in with this verse. Another one way I heard our Gurudev refer to this verse is that we should understand what is appropriate for us, right? Everyone is at a different stage of realization. Everyone has a particular duty, which is appropriate for them according to their stage of realization. And so that's something that we all need to be aware of. So in the beginning of this chapter, Arjuna is saying, well, hang on, Krishna, you're speaking very clearly, right? And as we mentioned, the second chapter's kind of giving an overview of all the different yogas of Bhagavad Gita. And karma yoga and jnana yoga, these are two of the major yogas, right? Karma yoga is speaking about selfless action. So in the practice of karma yoga, one is engaging in their duties in the world, right? That is what is encouraged. One may be active, in family life and work and society in various ways. This is karma yoga, active in the world, but internally practicing this mood of detachment. But then jnana yoga tends to be more renouncing the world, right? Renouncing the activities, the duties of this world, and engaging in exclusively in spiritual meditation, and yoga, you know, the Ashtanga yoga system, these yoga practices, meditation, they're all included within jnana yoga. So Arjuna's like, so in the previous chapter, Krishna's talking about both these types of yoga. So Arjuna's like, well, hang on, you know, can you please speak clearly? Sometimes you're advising me to follow, you know, duty and action. Other times you're advising me to give up action altogether, to give up karma. So please just tell it to me straight. And then Krishna's explaining, well, actually, these two things are not necessarily separate. Right? And actually, it's impossible to completely give up action in this world. You know, we are so you know, we're so, especially in this age, right? Especially in the age of Kali, right? We are so, you know, we need to eat every 5 minutes. You know, it's almost impossible to avoid action altogether, right? And so Krishna is saying here that actually it's better. What's really important is the internal state of mind, right? So one can be active in this world, but internally detached. And so these two things, maybe they're not necessarily separate. They may be one and the same thing, right? And someone who's sitting in a cave meditating is not necessarily more detached than someone who would be active even in family life, right? And surrounded by wealth and family members and so on, right? It is a matter of internal adjustment. And so, and then another danger with someone jumping to jnana yoga, the cultivation of wisdom and detachment, if someone jumps to that, then the danger is that they're not actually ready. And so it can be just an excuse to be lazy, right? That's also what's being indicated here. It's better to be active than to be idle. What is the use of false renunciation? And there's that previous, is it previous? Yeah, here, one who externally restrains their hands, legs, and other senses, but their mind is dwelling on sense objects. They're a fool. They're a hypocrite. Krishna is speaking very directly. So better just, you know, be realistic, stand in the world, do your duties, and internally practice this detachment. And so he's saying here, you know, perform your prescribed duties. Everyone has some particular set of duties that are appropriate to them. Inactive persons cannot even maintain their existence. And then here, so now here in parentheses, and I expect this is coming from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. See, our English Gītā, it's based on our Bengali Gītā, which was made by Srila Govinda Maharaj with some guidance from Srila Sridhar Maharaj. And so this line in parentheses, these sentences in parentheses, I expect this is coming. And this English Gītā, unfortunately, it's not fully representing our Bengali Gītā. I've made some comparison, but in some cases has been fully transferred over. So I expect this part in parentheses is a comment of Srila Sridhar Maharaj in his Bengali Gītā. So, and this is another point which comes up again and again in going through Bhagavad Gita, that there are always two layers of meaning, right? There's one which is kind of more literal, neutral meaning, but then there's another reading of Gita which is leaning towards devotion, right? Because that's the real fruit and the real gift of Bhagavad Gita. And karma yoga, like karma yoga on its own, it's you could say it's a little dry, right? Karma yoga is about cultivating detachment. But what is the goal? That's very vague. It's more about detachment, whereas in the practice, I mean, karma yoga transfers over very nicely to bhakti yoga, because on top of that detachment from the mundane is that attachment for the divine. So karma yoga, it provides a very nice platform, you could say, for the practice of bhakti. And so here in these parentheses, this transition is being described. By giving up fruit of action and performing your obligatory duties, your heart will be purified. So now this is important to understand, right? In Bhagavad Gītā, it's not that each yoga is standing alone, but it's all a system that is gradually bringing one to the real conclusion, which is bhakti, which is devotion. And so ultimately, karma yoga is preparing us. How? By purification. This is what's being pointed out here. By giving up a life of self-motivated, selfish action, there's a purification of the heart that takes place. There's a clearing of the mental system, Cheto Darpana Marjanam, right? And this is why kirtan is a special gift of this age, because kirtan is so sweet, so simple, and so powerful at the same time. Whereas practicing all this detachment, that can be quite challenging. It can be quite difficult. So by engaging in this spirit of selfless duty, going about our daily lives, carrying out what is our duty, giving up selfish action, there's an automatic purification that will take place. Right? And then that purified heart is a perfect platform upon which the temple of devotion can be built, you can say, with that strong foundation of, purified, non-selfish consciousness. And then, this is written very nicely, I have to say, surpassing the plane of renunciation, because karma yoga, there's a good dose of renunciation there. But now it's written here very nicely, surpassing that, going beyond that, you will attain pure devotion, which is the real goal of karma yoga, which is the real goal of Bhagavad Gītā. So surpassing the plane of renunciation, you will attain pure devotion, transcendental to the mundane plane. So this one verse here is, with the parentheses, it's explaining very nicely what is the essence of karma yoga and what is ultimately the real goal of karma yoga. So yeah, thanks for pointing that out, Prabhu.
Thank you so much, Vishaka Didi. Yeah, thank you.
And this verse here, this is one we heard our Gurudev quote many times. And this is kind of like describing what's the problem here. Why is karma yoga necessary, helpful, and ultimately, of course, bhakti. Because see, bhakti is the only solution. So what is the problem? What is the problem in this world? It is reactionary. That's the problem in this world. But you can enjoy, but you have to pay for it, sometimes with interest. So that's what's being pointed out here. This is the problem here. Now, first of all, karma, this is a bit of an elaborated translation, because behind this verse is this understanding of what is yajna, right? So yajna, generally when we hear the word yajna, we think of an elaborate fire sacrifice, right? With many ingredients and ritualistic offerings and swahas. But actually, yajna, there's one verse in the scriptures, we heard our Gurudev quote it, yajna, what is it? Yajyo vai Vishnu. Yajna means Vishnu. So yajna, I don't actually know what the literal meaning of yajna is, but we can say it means sacrifice, right? Yajna means sacrifice. And in the scriptures, there's one definition is saying yajyo vai Vishnu, means yajna means a sacrifice made for Vishnu. That is real yajna. And then we can link in here the idea of Sankirtan yajna, right? What is that verse in famous verse in Bhagavatam. Krishna Varnam Tvisha Krishnam Sangopangashta Parshadam Yagnai Sankirtana Prayer Yajantihi Sumeda Saha. So this is a famous verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which is just, it's in a hidden way describing Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the avatar of Kali Yuga, as the Yuga avatar for Kali Yuga. And it mentions here this Sankirtan Yagya, like how do we worship? Like this avatar is a little different. You know, this avatar is a little different from the previous avatars that you've known. He likes Sankirtan. So what type of yagya does he like? Sankirtan yagya, the sacrifice of Sankirtan. So yagnai Sankirtana prayer yajantihi sumeda saha. That the intelligent sumeda sa, those with some blessed spiritual intelligence, they will worship him with Sankirtan. He's not so into worshiping with incense. And of course he likes all that, you know, incense, flowers, and so on. He's down with that. But what he really likes to be worshipped with is Sankirtan, with kirtan. So that this is what yagya is. It means a sacrifice. So this is actually quite a strong verse. Yagyartat karmano nyatra lokoyam karma bandhana. What this verse is saying is that anything done in this world that is not yagya will be the cause of karma bandhana, will be the cause of bondage, reaction. You become more and more, you will become more entangled. This is like, this verse, I find it a little scary. It's like, oh, this is too real. It means every movement that you make, every breath, you know, everything that you do that's not done as a sacrifice for the Supreme is the cause of binding you further in this world. You know, every little food that you eat or word that you speak or whatever thing that you do in this world, it's all going to be binding us further into this cycle. Of course, there's, you know, so-called good karma and bad karma, you know, but it's all, whether it's good or bad, it's all binding us more in this world. So yagya is the solution, right? Perform all your duties in the spirit of such sacrifices. Mukta sangha samachara. So karma yoga is the solution to this, right? But not that you stop the activity, but you do that same activity, but do it as an offering. You know, the food that you're eating, the work that you're doing, the family that you're maintaining, do it all in a spirit of sacrifice, not in a mood of I, me, and mine, but this is the duty that has come before me, right? Then that changes. Then rather than being the cause of bondage, it will be the cause of liberation. So this verse, I find it quite a sobering verse to contemplate. And it, you know, we could think of it as like a heavy knock on the head, but it's really just reminding us what is our true goal and what is our true necessity, what is our true hunger, right? Anything that's not helping to take us closer to our true self and our true goal, it's a waste of time and it's just taking us away, right? And as I mentioned, we're very fortunate in this age, we have Sankirtan Yagya. It's a very, very sweet and joyful form of sacrifice, expression of sacrifice.
So even a Sankirtan Yagya, you have to do consciously. Because
yes, that's also true, right? We have to think about that. This is meant to be a sacrifice, right? Not just indulging my senses, but this kirtan is also meant to be an offering, a sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord.
I want to say that it is amazing for me to understand that sacrifice isn't just like a giving up, like a tough thing, like a Yeah, I don't know. Or maybe I had a strange idea what sacrifice is. This is for me, this is kind of healing in a way to hear that that it is not just like a sawing something off, like, okay, I'm gonna sacrifice with my own sweat and blood and tears, sort of. That's what I attached to it. So it's very nice. I had no idea. This is like the first time ever that it comes to my consciousness that Sankirtan is a yakya. I love it.
Yeah, I think I remember when it kind of hit me too one day, and it was a very sweet realization. I also felt that.
It's a common misunderstanding of the word sacrifice because people, like they think it has to hurt. But if you go to the etymology in English, the word just means to make something holy.
Oh, really?
Oh, really?
That's the
I
sacred.
never heard that. I think of like throwing children in a volcano sort of thing. Seriously, like not a joke.
Yeah. No, the word just means to make something holy or to set something apart. So anything that you have set apart for the Lord is a sacrifice. And ultimately you yourself set yourself apart for the Lord's use and become a sacrifice. But it's a common misunderstanding of the word because it's so often used in that you have to give something up or you have to, endure pain or something like that. And yes, sometimes those are sacrifices that we make, but that's not all the sacrifices. That's just some of them.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thanks for sharing that, Marie. Yeah, so the word has a bad rap. It's a word people get scared of. But there's no need. Sweet, sweet sacrifice. And welcome, Nadia Priya joined, and Ramananda Prabhu, and maybe one or two others. Well, anyone else?
It's loving sacrifice. It's loving sacrifice. Yeah. The Gurudev used to say with love and affection, Gurudev tried to remind everybody. Yeah.
Does anyone else want to bring up any other points? I think we kind of covered the main points that came up in these 10 verses. There was one other thing that just came to mind here. Okay, well, maybe we can continue then. So let's maybe go through 5 more verses. We'll hear, so picking up from verse 11 here.
देवान् भावयतानेन ते देवा भावयन्तु वा परस्परं भावयन्तः श्रेयः परमवाप्स्यतः इष्टान् भोगान् हि वो देवा दर्शन्ते यज्ञभावितः तैर्दत्तान् प्रदायैर्भो जो भुङ्क्ते तेनैव सः यज्ञशिष्टाशिनः सन्तु मुच्यन्ते सर्वकिल्बिषै भुञ्जते ते त्वघं पापा ये पचन्त्यात्मकारणात् अन्नाद् भवन्ति भूतानि पर्जन्यादन्नसम्भवः यज्ञाद् भवति पर्जन्यो यज्ञः कर्मसमुद्भवः कर्म ब्रह्मोद्भवं विद्धि ब्रह्माक्षर समुद्भवम् तस्मात् सर्वगतं ब्रह्म नित्यं यज्ञे प्रतिष्ठितम्.
Okay, well, maybe I'll just read through these 5 verses. So everyone, let's all chant together, 11 to 15. Devan bhavayatanena te deva bhavayantu vaha parasparam bhavayanta shreya paramavapsyata ishtan bhogan hivo deva dasyante yagyabhavitaha te datana pradayabhyo yo bhunkte stena eva saha yagya shishta shina santo muchyante sarva kilbishai punjate te tvagam papa ye pajantatma karanat anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyadana sambhavaha yagyad bhavati parjanyo yagya karma samudbhavaha karma brahmodbhavam vidhi brahmakshara samudbhavam tasmat sarvagatam brahma nityam yagye pratishtitam. Do you want to read the English, David, please?
Sorry, I didn't bring my glasses.
Oh. Do you want to read, Ananda?
11 to 15.
11 to 15.
Propitiate the gods by sacrifice.
That's a difficult one. Propitiate.
Propitiate.
Sorry.
Already, huh? All right. Propitiate the gods by sacrifices, and may they satisfy you by bestowing your desired fruits. In this way, through mutual nourishment, you will be the gainers of great auspiciousness. Propitiated by sacrifices, the gods, my worldly representatives, will bestow upon you all your desired enjoyable things. But one who enjoys what is given by the gods without offering it to them is a thief. By accepting sacrificial remnants of the universal gods, virtuous persons are liberated from all sins arising from violence towards other living entities. But those who prepare food for their own pleasure partake only of sin. The living beings' bodies are manifest from food. Food is manifest due to rain. Rainfall ensues from the performance of sacrifice, and action is the cause of sacrifice. Action is prescribed in the Vedas, and the Vedas originate in Akshara, the imperishable. Therefore, the pervading imperishable Lord is ever present within the acts of sacrifice offered to him.
All right. So, Bhagavad Gītā, we've discussed this before, right? But it's always kind of like, dancing between these different views, right? And this is why some persons may struggle a little with Bhagavad Gītā, because it is, it's mixed with different ideas. There's something in it for everyone, right? Let's put it like that. So here, this is kind of describing in a very nice, concise way, what is one of the main principles behind the general Vedic system of ancient India, right? So there one way we can look at this is like, this is one way Srila Maharaj has phrased it. There's the constitutional way and there's the revolutionary way. So there's like the general advice for everyone to move forward in a sensible way, sensible and slow way, right? And then there's the radical path, the revolutionary path, which is not for everyone, right? So Krishna consciousness falls into the latter category, right? It is the Krishna consciousness is the revolutionary way, which not many are ready for. It's kind of just going straight to the real goal. And so Bhagavad Gītā is sometimes leaning towards the revolutionary side, sometimes more towards the constitutional side, the more general path. And so here, what is being described is the principle behind the general Vedic system. And what is that? There's this awareness, right? That we are a part of a whole. There's an awareness that we are not the center. There's an awareness of all the different elements, energies that are involved in allowing us to breathe and move and eat food every day, right? And have shelter. And so this general Vedic system, there's a deep mood of respect and honor of so many different entities, right? The devas, the gods who are supplying so many things, the ancestors by whose, grace we are present here, and so on. It's mentioned, right, that everyone in this world has, I don't remember, maybe someone in our group here remembers, has so many debts, maybe like 5 or 6 different debts. There's debts to the gods, there's debts to the sages who have given us the scripture, there's debts to our ancestors, there's debt to humankind at large, and then there are different ways by which those debts can be liquidated, right? To the gods by offering them sacrifices, to ancestors by producing progeny, to the sages by studying the scriptures, and so on. So there's this wonderful awareness, right, of the contribution of all the entities that are allowing us to be present and enjoy the bounty of this world, right? And so here, this is what's being described. There's an awareness of the system, right? And so we are accepting, we are enjoying, right, the food, the bounty of this world. Then we have to honor the source. And so here, this is describing that, right? That if we just go direct to enjoy the resources of this world without honoring the real source, then there will be reaction. There will be a negative karmic reaction to that. And so what's being recommended here is offering that food. Now, as I mentioned before, there are these 2 layers always operating in Bhagavad Gita. One is kind of like the straight, literal, in context meaning, but then there's also the bhakti reading. And so here, it's particularly there's a footnote here saying the remnants referred to here are not the same as the Krishna Prasad that we're interested in, right? So this is one reading that this is referring to this kind of generic Vedic system of offering to the devas, to the gods who are providing us with rain and sun and so on. So that's one way of reading this in context in this chapter. However, there's also the broader reading where we can, and I've heard our Gurudev Srila Govinda Maharaj refer to this verse in that way. We can also take this, we can apply the same principle in our taking of prasad, right? And this is there's a very nice explanation of Srila Sridhar Maharaj. He's referring to a song of Bhaktivinoda Thakur. We were singing it the other day, the Shuddha Bhakata song. Prasada seva korite hoy sakala prapancha jai. Right? By honoring the prasad, the blessed food remnants of the Lord, we will conquer over the whole of the material plane. And Srila Sridhar Maharaj gives a very wonderful explanation of that comment of Bhaktivinoda, saying that what Bhaktivinoda is saying here is prasad is the solution. It's the only solution. Why? Because we have to eat to survive, right? We could minimize, and we can also extend this beyond food. That's another point. But we have to eat to survive. But at the same time, all the food that we can acquire in this world, there are so many negative reactions that are behind that, right? Especially in this modern age, in this age of transport and technology. If we open our refrigerators, we may have food from an average person, may not even be financially doing so well. Just an average person could have food from 10 different countries in their refrigerator, right? That's just a very normal thing nowadays. Now think about like all the energy that's involved in the production of even just one ingredient in the list of 20 ingredients in that pesto in the back of our fridge, right? Or whatever it is. Like, just think of all the energy that's been involved. We don't know what type of exploitation's been involved in the production and the packing and the transport of that food and the packing of that food, right? What to speak of what happens after you've eaten it, what happens to to the packaging. We'll just go mad if we think about it too much, right? So there's so many karmic reactions involved, right? And it would be nice to think, oh, happy farmers, you know, being paid well. And but realistically, there's probably some, you know, exploitative labor involved somewhere along the line, right? And then, of course, another factor on top of all of that is the fact that those are innocent vegetables and innocent fruits, and we're just going to gobble them up. And what gives us the right? You know, why do we think we're more important than those apples? What gives us the right? Right? And that's also a factor that there's consciousness everywhere. That there's consciousness in that apple. And, you know, it's wonderful many people are becoming vegan nowadays, but that's not the real solution. That's not, because they're still harming another living entity. So how can we justify that? What's the real solution for us and for that little apple? So this is it. Prashad. This is the solution. Because in Prashad, we're offering that, where whatever is coming to us, that we need for our own maintenance, right? That's also a part of it. We have to survive. Then we're offering that in a spirit of love, a spirit of devotion, aspiring devotion, right? We are offering that to the Lord, and He is accepting that through His merciful heart, giving that back to us, right? So then that becomes blessed. And in that transaction, all the negative reactions that were connected with the production of that food, they will be nullified. And not only nullified, but those all the entities that were involved in the production of that food, as well as the food itself, they will be uplifted, right? So this prashad, it's very powerful. It's very powerful. And it's a very important, very key principle. It is the solution, right? And here we're talking about food, but as I said, we could also extend that to everything, right? We want to live in a consciousness of prashad, right? That whatever is coming to us, we're seeing it as coming, you know, from the Lord. It is coming, and we're accepting that in a spirit of service and a spirit of devotion. And that's, you know, that's people, that's things, that's various resources. If we live in this with this mood of honor, this mood, it's a mood of respect, actually, and love. It's a way of engaging with love, with our environment. Then we won't be held accountable, you know, for the negativity that may be associated with all of these things. But if we live without that spirit of prashad, then we will be held accountable, right? We will have participated in that chain of exploitation, we can say, to a greater or lesser degree. But we will have to, you know, pay some price for that also. But of course, you know, ultimately in the spirit of devotion, we don't want to be so worried about karma. It's that's not our mood, you know. And understanding karma is just like kind of knowing how the plumbing works, right? It's just kind of, it helps us understand how the world is operating, how things are running. But ultimately, we don't want to be motivated by that. I'm going to offer this to Krishna so I won't have to pay for the karma, right? We don't want to think like that. That's not the spirit of devotion. We could say the negation of karma is just like a nice side effect that we're not too concerned with, right? We are the devotees. I don't want to say we, because I don't want to think of myself as a devotee, but we can say the devotees are concerned with pleasing Krishna. That is their concern. How can we make Krishna happy? That is their concern. They're not thinking about how much karma they're gaining or losing, or whether they're getting good karma or bad karma. I bet you someone's going to come up with an app, or maybe there's already an app that will calculate your karma for the day. So we don't want to be too concerned. Or like now there's the like step counters, how many steps you walked or ran in the day, right? There's going to be some app that measures your karma for the day, right? So we're not, the devotees are not.
I want to work for them. I want to work for them. Creating that app.
So the devotees are concerned with pleasing Krishna. And even if they incur bad karma in the pursuit of pleasure for Krishna, they don't care. That's their attitude. But we're in Bhagavad Gītā right now, so it's a little bit of a different angle here. So that's okay. We're honoring that. So yeah, I mean, this is what I really appreciate about the whole Vedic system. The Varnashrama system of India is based on this principle of harmony, right? Then Shrila Maharishi had this phrase which our Gurudev liked very much. It was like his definition of the Varnashrama system that is based on this principle: sympathetic dealings with nature. Sympathetic dealings with nature. So working with our own human nature, honoring the environment around us, right? This is the Varnashrama system. So this verse here, it's like, it's acknowledging, right, all these cycles of life. The living beings' bodies are manifest from food. Food is manifest due to rain. Rainfall ensues from the performance of sacrifice, and action is the cause of sacrifice. And then this, I'll just jump to this verse 16. This is a bit of a scary verse. Or let's just hear Gurudev. We'll hear these next two verses and then we'll close for today. Okay, yeah, we don't want to end on a scary verse, right? So let's just get through the scary verse right now. So listen to 16 and 17.
Evang pravartitam chakrang nanubattaya tihaja aghayurindriya rama mohang partha savivati jastvatmara sireva sad atma triptascha manava atmanneva cha santushta tasya karjagna vidyate.
Okay, so let's read through these 16, 17. Evam pravartitam chakram nanuvartayati haya agayorindriyararamo mogam partha sajivati yastatmarati syadatma triptas chamanavaha atmanyeva cha santushtas tasya kajam na vidyate. O Arjuna, one who does not respect this natural causal cycle leads a life of sin, enjoying the senses in vain. So this is very nice. Natural causal cycle. Right? Yet there is no duty to fulfill for the realized person who delights within the self, being fully satisfied within. His only worldly action or karma is as required for his subsistence. So this is Atmarati. Atmarati, this is a nice phrase. One who's tasting the joy of the self, right? Atmarati. So they're detached from the activity of this mundane world. They're just going through the motions of this world to fulfill their duties and keep peace within society. But they're not, their attachment is not there. Why? Because they're tasting something within. Okay, so I think that's a good place to stop for today. Does anyone want to, let's close our screen share here. Anyone want to share any thoughts from our reading today? What about Axel? Anything you'd like to share?
No, you pretty much covered it all. I have nothing to add.
Okay, that's good to hear. Well, we have our special guest today. David Priya is with us.
I also have nothing to say.
Okay. All right. Well, it's been a lovely meeting with you all. And unfortunately, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do next Thursday because I'm flying out back to Hungary next Thursday. So